It's so fucking gay, Luigi. That's Mama Luigi to you, Mario. Get with the times. Fuck you, Luigi. I hate you, Luigi. Die, Luigi. So, I was listening to Digi's, Befriending the Internet podcast show, episode 2, talking about a lot of gender stuff at the beginning. I am about, how many seconds am I in? 50 minutes into the episode, and I felt the need to begin speaking. I felt the need to begin speaking because I was interested in some of the things she was saying regarding, gender being like a thing, or deciding to present as one. And all the things that just explain what I'm trying to get at, because I don't even fucking really understand. Ooh. Ooh. It's so hard to speak. I was thinking of starting this going like, oh no, I turned on the microphone and I forgot what I was going to say immediately. Because it was true. As soon as I paused the video, I was like, wait, what was I thinking? I had to go back a few minutes and be like, oh yeah. And now I'm thinking it's happening again, just because I yawned. Just because I went, ugh! And all my brain's gone. Oh, I don't like that. That sucks. This is unscripted. Oh, really? Is it? Oh, I couldn't tell. You cunt. Talk to myself. Okay, the thing with gender that I was gathering and thinking about myself is how, it shouldn't exist, it has no inherent value beyond what it is, how it is, just so happened to inform society. There is kind of a gender binary in the way that there's a left brain and a right brain, and if you're more of one thing than the other, then you're going to act more of a certain way, and the two different sides of the brain correspond, quite generally speaking, but it seems to be the case of the male and the female. I remember in school once, there was a test we did talking about the left and right sides of the brain and, the idea of a male brain and a female brain. Which kind of brain do you have? And we answered questions, and I was singled out for having one of the most female brains. And I was like, oh, well, sure, cool. I don't know. And it was because of, I don't know. There's all sorts of facets of life. Everybody has left and right part of their brain. Nobody is entirely one or the other. And of course, there's lots of happenstance things that happen to you in your life that push you towards relying on one or the other. I don't think you are predetermined to be a left-brained or a right-brained person from birth. I think you just sort of fall into a habit and you stick with it forever. Generally speaking, a tendency to work better with one side of the brain than the other. Some people could be perfectly in the middle. I think a lot of people are generally close enough to the middle it doesn't really matter. But that's the parallel I see with Digi talking about gender, and women are a certain way. Not all of them, but they tend to be like this, which is why men tend to be a certain other way. It's not always the case, and that's why when a man said, you are a man, here's all the things that mans do, here's all the things that they are expected to do, here's the way they think, and then this human male is like, but I don't I don't fit any of these things. I don't fit most of these things. I fit a few of these things. I'm trying very hard in a lot of these things, but it just doesn't appeal to me. The other stuff appeals to me. And that's what a trans person is somebody who at some point realizes they were never really that category, you know? In the brain, that is. In the body, it's a different story. But the brain is the most important part. Brain is number one. If you took out the brain, it doesn't matter what your body looks like. The new brain that you put in would have a different opinion on it. Although that's not to say that the brain can operate exactly the same if it's in a different body, because hormones and stuff like that, they're all chemicals that are produced within the body. And such, if you take a female person's brain and put it into a male person's body, the brain is going to be injected with hormones from this new body, providing that it doesn't, get rejected by the body or whatever. You think about it for a little minute. Think about just one little minute, 30 seconds. So I learned that from that Fallout New Vegas DLC. I forget what it's called. The one where you go to a brain space crater. Very cool. But the concept of the brain, in that DLC, your character is knocked out, and then they wake up with a fake brain in their head. Their real brain is somewhere else. You, obviously, it's all science fiction nonsense that allows you to still have automaton, to be able to do the things that you, the player, want to do. But your brain is just a mass of flesh that is sitting in a vat somewhere, and you have to go and save your brain. And then you meet your brain at the end, and your brain doesn't necessarily want to go with you, because your brain doesn't want to go back into that gross body where its thoughts are influenced by all these chemicals bouncing around, and it's like, ew, gross. And it's a funny thing to think of, because obviously a situation like that can't happen, but the idea is kind of real. There is no real self. You're influenced by the things that are happening to your body and the things that are happening. There's no core to your being. You're always moving around a little bit, and if you influence the hormones in your body, your brain will change a little bit. This is similar to a thing I've heard where when a man or a woman become a parent, as in a woman gives birth and sees their child, a man sees their son or daughter for the first time and holds them, they fundamentally change a little bit. Something about having a kid, the realization of you have a kid now, changes how you act. And I think, I'm just guessing, but I feel like that's a special chemical that is released upon that realization. Because when you're young, when you're full of vim and vigor, at least for a man, you're trying to fuck everything. You're trying to go everywhere, and you're going to try and fuck everyone and everything, and you're just all about sex. Because without that burning desire for that thing, you're going to get too old, and you're going to die, and you're not going to fight for it enough. If you don't fight for it, someone else will pass on their genes instead of you, and you're just like, oh, I'm going to do the one. I'm going to be the guy that gets the girl, and then you're full of energy. And then when you become a father, that never necessarily just goes away, but it does change in a lot of people, where it changes from I need to fuck everything to I need to protect my family. It's somewhat documented. I'm making that up. I'm not making it up, but I don't have a chart that I can point to and say that's where I learned it. I just remember hearing it through the years, a thing that I've heard once or twice, and it seems to make a lot of sense that once you have a child, you are in phase 2 of human existence, and now that your genes exist in physical form, instead of trying to create more children, you will want to have sex still, but some people just stop caring about it. And as you get older, sex generally becomes less important as you become infertile and unable to make children. It's just sort of like just so happens to be the case that when you can't make babies anymore, you don't want to have sex quite as much. But once you have a child, there's a thing that happens in a lot of people that makes them more protective, more going into parenting mode, and less into whatever mode comes before parenting, finding a mate mode. And it doesn't happen for everyone, obviously, because some people, they make a child and then they're like, they leave because they don't want to do it, they don't want to deal with it. I'm not sure whether that's like a chemical thing or not. I feel like the chemical is supposed to be there to encourage the protection of the new offspring. And if there's not enough of it, or, environmental factors play a part in making a person decide certain things. Because you're not ruled by these chemicals in your head. They just influence you in certain ways. So yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Chemicals in the brain affecting you in certain ways, giving you more testosterone, estrogen, other things that I don't know the names of, but probably exist, and have funny science words that influence the way you think. And gender is just one aspect of all that neuroscience bullshit. I say bullshit because I believe in it. So taking all of that into considerations, I was thinking about how gendered things, things that men tend to do, things that women tend to do, things that left-brained and right-brained people think to do, the tendency towards things on one side of the brain to the gender, the other, there's like blah, blah, blah. Generally, people who act a certain way, think a certain way, are more capable of being the people who just so happen to have the big muscles, which helps win fights and wars and things, and make decisions that are, risky and good to, all the things that are associated with masculinity. The people who are born with the advantages of masculinity, aka people who are born male, who have the testosterone levels that are higher, if they think the way a masculine man does, I can't remember which one's which, left brain or right brain. One of them's creative, one of them's logical. I think the logical one is the masculine one, and the creative one is the feminine one. And obviously, it's not like all of them. It is a tendency. So, if somebody is born a masculine man with testosterone chemicals, and also tends to be a left-brained or a logical-brained thinker, they will be a very successful male, masculine man. And that's cool. Opposite side, obviously, is a very creative-brained, feminine, estrogen-born person. All of the things that come with the creative side of the brain, the emotional side of the brain, I don't know the terms. You know what I'm talking about. You cut a brain in half, it becomes two different people. You ever seen Bo Burnham? That one thing he did? The first show he put on YouTube? I forget what it's called. It was really good. It's the first thing I saw of Bo Burnham. I was like, shit. That's good. Bo Burnham. B-O. Not body odor. Whew. I don't know myself. I haven't smelled him. But Bo Burnham. Watch that. But yeah, I think I'm going over the same points again. Anyway, everything that is associated with left brain, right brain, male and female, it is not a rule that has been cast in iron. It is just a way that human beings have tended towards being. Masculine men who have a left logical brain thinking are more successful in the world, and thus are more attractive to the opposite sex, and would propagate their genes more. So people who are like that do well. People who on the other side, not the other side, but like who are born masculine with the testosterone, but have the more emotional side of the brain, it's incongruous. It works, can work. It's never going to be the best. You kind of want to live with the advantages of the body and the mind coexisting in the same fashion. That's how I'm thinking about it. Maybe it's stupid, but that's how I'm thinking about it. Thoughts? Oh, you got a thought, have you? Why didn't you leave a comment about it? Down in the little box down there. Again, I felt like that was a tangent, and my real point went unsaid. You know that CGP Grey UR2? This is also something I'm thinking about. Like, UR2, there's a version of me that is the guy who's operating the microphone, like the one who is speaking, the one who is making my voice flaps make the sounds. And then there's a guy in the back of my head being like, shut the fuck up, stop recording, you're idiot,